What is going on, guys? Rolly Rods here. The Retribution Paladin rework is live on the PTR, and in this video, we're going to talk about it. All right, first things first. If you haven't read Kyvax's post on the PTR, I'm going to leave a link to it below, but it just goes over in a very small detail of what they were planning to do with buttons, stacking modifier, survivability, maneuverability, and utility, as well as the current known issues. Right now with the tree, there are more, so if you are on the PTR, please report every bug. All right, first things first, tree is big. Big tree, we like it. So many more options, so many more avenues to do things, and a lot more freedom. I really like what they did with the pathing. You can really tell that Sarah has really learned a lot about pathing, and light praise Sarah for the rework. But let's get into it. So first things first, Blessing of Freedom, Hammer of Wrath, and Auras of Swift Vengeance are all baseline. Before, Blessing of Freedom was not, now it is. So we get Blessing of Freedom, we get Hammer of Wrath, and we get Auras of Swift Vengeance, which includes Retribution Aura and Crusader Aura. Now, Retribution Aura did get a rework. So if you see, it says, when a party or raid member within 40 yards takes more than 50% of their health and damage in a single hit, you gain 5% increased damage and healing for 10 seconds. This cannot occur more than once every 30 seconds. So it reads as you get the 5% increased damage, but it should be for everybody. They made it clear in the blue post that it was for everybody. It should be a raid-wide thing. So I think it's just worded weirdly on the PTR. That's all. Crusader Aura also got rolled into it. I think it was Seal of the Templar, where increased range of Crusader Strike, Templar's Verdict, Rebuke, and Hammer of Justice by 3 yards. I don't really see that being a big plus or anything like that, but I like that it's all rolled into Crusader Aura and not like its own complete separate thing. So that's great. So we still have Lay on Hands. Lay on Hands is Lay on Hands. I love that we can go straight to Cleanse Toxins or Blinding Light and Repentance. I really like this because most of the time I was picking between Cleanse Toxins or Blinding Light, so having that choice, which I think they did that on live as well. Turn Evil has been moved all the way up to the top, so you can get Turn Evil very easily right off the bat. Obduracy, again, was way down here, now is way up at the top. Love it. If you need some speed, some avoidance, go for it. Divine Steed. So Divine Steed is now off the GCD, which is great. Means you can just cast it whenever. You don't have to wait for anything. I love that change. And they increase the duration of Divine Steed. So now we can go back to Shadowlands 6-second long Divine Steed, which it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's off GCD and it's a lot longer than it is right now. So I'm going to take it. So you still have to take take Divine Steed, Cavalier, and Seasoned Warhorse. You're still putting three talent points into it, but it does feel a lot better knowing that, hey, we have a 6-second steed now instead of a 4-second steed. Greater Judgment. Judgment causes your target to take 20% increased damage for your next Holy Power ability. Standard Judgment debuff stuff. We love it. Rebuke. Nothing has changed from Rebuke. It's still there. I love that we could just go straight into it from Obduracy. If for some reason you didn't want Greater Judgment, you could do that. We'll just take Blinding Light here. Fist of Justice has been moved all the way to the other side, but it's not a big problem. It still feels fine going right into it. This is kind of more like M+y stuff, I guess, anyways. So it's nice that you can still get access to it. And I'm not sure, but I think it helps Holy out because like if they don't take Rebuke, but they still want the stun reduce, you know, that's a thing. Holy Aegis, kind of same thing. Extra armor, extra crit, we like it. Avenging Wrath, smack dab in the middle again, no change there. Justification, Judgment's damage is increased by 10%. More judgment damage is nice. I love Punishment. I love that they're incentivizing people to kick or to do mechanics, really. You know, it's at the end of the day, one extra Crusader Strike for kicking is it's not going to be like the biggest damage increase in the world, but you get an extra Holy Power and it incentivizes people to kick, which I think is great. I love it. Most of the time people are just like, oh yeah, somebody will kick, but now they're like, well, if I kick, you know, I get some holy damage and a little extra. I get a holy power and some extra damage. So I love it. It's great. Nothing changed with Golden Path. Blessing of Sacrifice and Bop, nothing really changed here. Nothing changed with After Image. Seal of Mercy. Strength of Conviction did change, but it's not going to affect Ret too much. While you're in Consecration, your Shield of the Righteous, Word of Glory have 10% increased damage and healing. It's not really for us. We don't run Shield of Vengeance, and you'll see we care even less about Consecration now than ever before. Judgment of Light is still the same. We're fine there. Sacrifice of the Just, Recompense, nothing changes here. CDR or do some dam. Sanctified Plates, though. Praise be Sarah for the armor increase by 20%, stamina by 10, damage from area effects by 10. This is going to be so good for us. I always feel like Paladin was just on the edge of surviving things. It was like, man, if we just had a little bit of something, you know, something like Herja, you know, when you're in the dome. I don't know about you guys, but even with Divine Protection and Word of Glory, it was scary. I think Sanctified Plates is gonna really help. Even just that 10% stamina increase is going to be great. 20% armor is great, obviously, and then obviously 10% from area of effect. I think if we got nothing else but Sanctified Plates, I think even that would have been a huge help. We got more than that, which is even better. Bop, nothing's changed. Improved Bop, nothing changed. Unbreakable Spirit, nothing changed. You still probably want that. Lightforge Blessing, Divine Storm heals you and up to a certain number of nearby allies for 5% health. I love this. This spell to me really fits into the Paladin like fantasy lore, if you want, of just like, man, I could see this being really useful in M+. Huge packs getting pulled. You pop wings, Divine Storm's going off, and you're healing your allies while your healer's trying to. It feels like such a Paladin spell. I love it. I don't think I would ever not take it, except maybe in like single target, but like, it's still so good. Crusader's Reprieve, Crusader Strike, and auto attack range is increased by 3 yards, and using Crusader Strike heals you for 2% of your maximum health. So get a little bit of range, and you get to heal yourself for Crusader Strikes. Yeah, I love it. It's solid. More survivability for us is great, especially that it's, you know, quote unquote passive. It'll become even more passive, and we'll talk about that later. Divine Purpose, nothing changes here. You still get Divine Purpose. Seal of Might got a little bit of a rework. Now it increases your strength as well as mastery, which is great. I mean, extra 4% strength and 4% mastery. I love it. It's good. Seal of Alacrity got some help too. Haste increased by 2% and Judgment cooldown reduced by half a second. And it'll go up to 4% on rank 2 and 1 second. Great. More judgments, more haste. Why wouldn't you want that? Divine Toll is now a Paladin spell, not baseline, but it's on the Paladin tree, so that's great. I mean, all 3 Paladins. Divine Toll was such a good implementation. I love that spell. I think it's great. I think it did great. I love it on Prot. I love it on Ret. I don't play a lot of Holy, but I'm sure Holy also probably loves Divine Toll. It's just such a great spell. So it's good to see it on the main Paladin tree versus, you know, each spec just taking it at the end of the day over here. Now we get the choice, though. This was a change. So you have Divine Resonance and Quickened Invocation. So I think Prot had Quickened Invocation. I'm not sure if they take it or not. I don't think I take it. But 15-second CDR on it is nice. I will probably run Divine Resonance just because at 45 seconds, Divine Toll doesn't really do much. Versus a minute, there's not really a reason I would want to be running a 45-second Divine Toll versus a minute Divine Toll, but I would rather have Divine Resonance happen. Okay, so Incandescence and Touch of Light, nothing has really changed here, except we're probably never going to cast Consecration ever again, unless the tuning stuff changes. But I would probably go Touch of Light here between the two, but I don't know if I would take either of them with some other stuff happening over here and only 4 points left. But if I had to choose one, I would choose Touch of Light. Again, Touch of Light just feels, it's kind of like Lightforge's Blessing, right? It's like, oh, okay, as I'm doing things, I'm healing people. It's not a lot of healing, you know, it's pretty small, but depending on some of the builds, it feels like our APM goes up, our actions per minute goes up, so maybe Touch of Light might actually do some good damage and healing now. We'll see with some more testing. Faith's Armor, Word of Glory grants 20% bonus armor for 4.5 seconds. I love it. I love Word of Glory. I love healing my party or my raid, and if I can give them extra armor to help, I love being useful. As a paladin, I love doing a lot of damage and being super useful and having utility. So Faith Armor just adds to that. I think it's a great addition. Seal of the Crusader has been changed. Your auto attacks deal 998 additional holy damage, and at rank 2, they deal almost 2,000 additional damage. Pretty solid. We'll talk more about Seal of the Crusader later when we get into some of this stuff over here. But yeah, I mean, extra 2k, not bad. Zealous Paragon, pretty much unchanged. Hammer Wrath and Judgment deal more damage and extend the duration of Avenging Wrath by half a second. 10% more Judgment on top of already increasing, and then just Divine Toll. So Zealous Paragon, not bad. It is a little weird having to go through this to get to Zealous Paragon, but we'll see. We may run it. We'll see. Of Dusk and Dawn was changed a little bit. When you cast 3 holy power generating abilities, you gain Blessing of Dawn. When you consume Blessing of Dawn, you gain Blessing of Dusk. So now instead of getting to 5 holy power, it's just 3 holy power generators, whatever they are, which is great. It's a lot more passive. It's a lot less to think about. It's just actively happening all the time, which is nice. So Blessing of Dawn is your next holy power spending ability, deals 20% increased damage and healing. This effect stacks. I don't know why you would want to, I mean, you would, if in order for it to stack, you would effectively be overstacking holy power, which you never really want to do. I don't know if that's okay in other specs, but I know in Ret you're just losing straight up damage. And then Blessing of Dusk, damage taken reduced by 5% for 10 seconds. I'll still be taking of Dusk and Dawn, at least right now. Probably over Zealous Paragon still. I mean, the 10% increased judgment damage is pretty nice. So I'm not gonna act like it's not. And along with the Crusade change, it may actually be pretty good. We'll do some more testing. The last 2, Seal of Order and Fading Light, have not been implemented yet. We don't know exactly what these do, so we're waiting to see what these are. Right now, they just have the kind of placeholder things on the PTR. But that's the Paladin Tree. Overall, I am really happy with this. There's not a whole lot of changes, but the changes they made feel good. Sanctified Plates, Faith's Armor, we're getting those in. They're gonna of Dusk and Dawn potentially getting a little bit of a rework is pretty nice. But for the most part, adding in Punishment, Light's Forge Blessing, you're not gonna, I don't think you'll really stray away too much here. There's still not a whole lot, but it's good. What is happening is good. I enjoy it, and I love that they opened up so many pathways to get to things. Before it was oh, well, you have to go down this way and this way to get to here. And it's now almost everything is opened up. There's a lot more freedom. There's a lot more, really, the ability to customize your play. Everything just feels better on the Paladin. All right, so let's move on over to the Retribution Tree. So Blade of Justice, Divine Storm, same thing they've always been. I love that they go one into the other, and then they split off versus the other one that was they were kind of split, but they weren't, and it was kind of weird. Pathing is so much better on these trees. We're just gonna go left to right every row that we open up as we talk through things. So Swift Justice, reduce the cooldown of Judgment by 2 seconds and Crusader Strike by 2 seconds. Great, that's fun. Reduce the cooldown of Blade of Justice by 2 seconds. So what you're gonna kind of see with the Ret Tree is it really seems like they've gone Judgment and Crusader Strike, buffing and changing the way they work, and then Blade of Justice changing the way it works. And then they've sprinkled in some other little fun spells here and there. But overall, I like it. I like being able to modify the way a spell does something. For me, I like I don't know why. I just like Blade of Justice as a spell. So yeah, I want to reduce it by 2 seconds and do some other cool things with it. You'll see. But maybe you just really like Crusader Strike, or maybe you really like Judgment. It's cool. And then you can go towards where you're slamming more Judgments and more Crusader Strikes. I really like what they're doing here. A Holy Blade of Justice grants 1 additional holy power. It is what it's always been. Improved Blade of Justice. Blade of Justice now has 2 charges. And then there's improved Crusader Strike. Crusader Strike now has 2 charges. So kind of same thing we were talking about of you can buff Crusader Strike or you can buff Blades of Justice. I go for Blade of Justice. Just here's something that I was actually really surprised and actually am not mad about it and kind of like it. Final Verdict still Final Verdict that it is. It deals 26k holy damage. It has a 20-yard range. It has a 15% chance to reset the cooldown of Hammer of Wrath. It went from being like down here to all the way up here. I love it. It's great. I love Final Verdict is easily it's easy to get to. It's great. I love it. Now the choice of Final Verdict versus Justicar's Vengeance is interesting. Some of the other things that they implemented down here will make Justicar's Vengeance a little more interesting and actually potentially viable. I think they did good. So Justicar's Vengeance replaces Final Verdict, focuses holy energy to deliver a powerful strike that deals 22k holy strike damage and restores health equal to the damage done. Of course, it is not as strong as Final Verdict. 26k versus 22k. You might just look at the numbers and be like, oh yeah, of course I'll go for Final Verdict. But it heals and it deals holy strike damage, which is holy and physical damage. And there's some other things that there's another ability that increases physical damage you do. So before it was like Justicar's Vengeance, whatever. It's down here in the corner. It's not gonna ever be used, whatever. But now it's like, well, I don't know, maybe, especially with the healing and damage increased by 50% when against a stun target. Sometimes there's moments where bosses are stunned and that's where you deal high damage to them. And now you're doing even more damage. So it's interesting now. It's opened up the door for like, I think at the end of the day, you'll probably still take Final Verdict, but maybe. But we'll go Final Verdict. Light's Celerity. Light's Celerity. Flash of Light casts instantly. Its healing done is increased by 50%, but it now has a 6-second cooldown. So this kind of makes me think of Selfless Healer, where kind of like you would like do attacks and like it would build up and then you would have like an instant cast Flash of Light for extra. Now they just give it to you. Now it's just whatever, you just have it all the time and it's a 6-second cooldown. It's not bad. I typically, if I am using Flash of Light, I'm spam casting it. So I'm not sure if I would take it, but at the same time, having an instant little quick heal that's not Word of Glory is nice. So yeah, I like the spell. I think it's good. I don't think it's as good as Guided Prayer. Guided Prayer kind of goated. When your health is brought below 25%, you instantly cast a free Word of Glory at 100% effectiveness on yourself. Cannot occur more than once every 60 seconds. Now, if you're like me and you're playing red and something happens, something goes off, somebody missed a kick, whatever, you instantly get chunked for 80% of your health. I'm immediately reaching or lay on hands, immediately reaching for it. This is basically just going to do that for me and kind of let me save Lay on Hands for somebody else or for another situation. I think Guided Prayer is going to be an instant lock for me all the time. It's so good. And the nice thing is that it benefits from Faith's armor. So think about it. You get chunked, you know, and you're below 25% health. Not only do you get a nice big wog, but you're also getting 20% bonus armor on top of it. So Guided Prayer for me is what I'm just gonna have locked in all the time. Healing Hands, nothing really changed with Healing Hands. Lay on Hands cooldowns reduced to 60%, and based on the target's missing health, and Word of Glories are increased by 100%. I love Healing Hands. I love throwing out big heals on people. I love being a paladin. Healing Hands is great. However, we now get Unbound Freedom, which increases movement speed by 30%, and you gain Blessing of Freedom when you cast it on someone else. So you cast it on someone else, you also get it. I think it's
a really great Tiger's Lust.
I'm so happy that they put this in for us. I think it's great. I think it gives us a lot of utility to be able to freedom to people and not just ourselves. It's a really tough one. I think this one is more situational. I might just run this one all the time, unless you just want, you know, the extra movement speed, which according to the blue post, they're still working on some stuff. So we'll see. I think default Healing Hands, situational Unbound Freedom. But if you went Unbound Freedom all the time, you could go either way. If you're not worried about healing people, just go Unbound Freedom. Great change. I love it. Righteous Cause, Templar's Verdict, Final Verdict, and Justicar's Vengeance have a 25% chance to reset the cooldown of Blade of Justice. A single target single target, Blade of Justice reset. You won't really take it an M+, but that's why you have Art of War. Art of War is just Art of War from the past. Your auto attacks and Crusader Strike have a 15% chance to reset the cooldown of Blade of Justice. I haven't fully tested which one is better. I'm gonna assume single target and cleave or multi-target. That's what I'm gonna assume. More testing, we'll see what happens. Going all the way back over here, but I wanna talk on this real quick. I love that they were like, hey, here's a big choice node, and here's 3 things that you can do. You can take all of them, or you can take one of them, and then you keep moving on. They do this so many times now, and I love it. I love this style of pathing. I love that it gives you so much more freedom, and it gives you more choices. It just feels good. I love this, man. This is great pathing. Praise be to Sarah. So let's look at jurisdiction. Final Verdict and Blade of Justice deal 10% increased damage. The range of Final Verdict and Blade of Justice is increased to 20 yards. Final Verdict was already 20 yards, but now you're getting extra yardage on Blade of Justice, and it's doing 10% increased damage. I mean, a solid single target. I mean, that's gonna absolutely slam. Judgment of Justice. Judgment deals 10% increased damage, increases your movement speed by 10% for 5 seconds, and slows enemies by 30% for 15 seconds. Judgment increasing movement speed and reducing the enemy movement speed is nice, especially since we don't have Hand of Hindrance anymore. We lose Hand of Hindrance, so having something to still slow people is great, other than our consecration. But the other thing is, if you take Divine Toll with Divine Resonance for essentially 15 seconds, you just have 10% increased movement speed, because by the time this falls off, you're throwing another hammer and it's resetting the cooldown of it. So this is great. All right, moving on to Imperium Power. Imperium Power, nothing really changes. Crusader Strike has a 15% chance to make your Divine Storm free and deal 25 additional damage. Still good, still solid. Shield of Vengeance creates a barrier of Holy Light. Nothing really changed here. I think Shield of Vengeance is the amount that it can take has gone up. 130k is quite a bit. This is with the spell. This is with this spell down here, so that's why it looks like more than it is. 130 is not baseline. That is the improved version of it. But the fact that we get Divine Protection and Shield of Vengeance now is just chef's kiss, man. The fact that we can get both now. Paladins had been asking for Divine Protection to be baseline, and now we also get Shield of Vengeance. It's great. I love it. Thank you, Blizzard. Expurgation. Your Blade of Justice causes the target to burn for 81% of the damage dealt over 6 seconds. This is different than the crit version of, oh, you have to crit in order to get it. Now it just has a dot. And this is so funny to me because a long time ago, Blade of Justice replaced Exorcism, I think in Legion. I don't exactly remember. I'm pretty sure it was Legion, but it replaced Exorcism, and then they brought Exorcism back, and Exorcism dealt damage and had a dot attached to it. And it was like, it was okay. Now, Blade of Justice has a dot attached to it. So Blade of Justice has once again replaced Exorcism, and everything is right with the world. Expurgation is great now, especially because the dot damage went up to 81%. So, and it's percent based off the base damage. So that's nice. So that it'll scale really nice. I like Expurgation now. When it was the crit version, I was kind of like, whatever. It was okay. But this version is awesome. Zealot's Fervor. Auto attack speed increased by 20%. Potentially could be super goated. The fact that we're just getting 20% auto attack speed and also Art of War, I think it's great. It's way better than Zeal. I think this is a way better version, and I love it. It's great. Consecrated Ground. Your consecration is 50% larger, and enemies within it have 50% reduced movement speed. Again, Consecrated Ground, it is what it's been for a while. Another way to have a slow. It's great. Improved Judgment. Judgment now has 2 charges, or Boundless Judgment. Judgment generates an additional holy power. When I look at this, I see it as, I think that you would be taking Improved Judgment, because what is, at the end of the day, yes, Judgment is a holy power generator. Judgment is your Judgment buff. 20% increased damage to your next holy power ability. That to me is what Judgment is. Judgment, yes, it generates holy power, but it really is to make my next Templar's Verdict, Divine Storm, whatever, do 20% more damage. So I would rather have more of these than have Judgment generate 1 additional holy power. Maybe in a M+ situation, what I think Boundless Judgment might be better. Maybe an M+. Just because an empowered divine storm isn't huge on a single target, except like when you hit Divine Toll and they all get 20% more, then, you know, it's pretty big. But more holy power to more divine storms is nice. But yeah, there could be a situation where you take improved judgment and then high lord's judgment and you're like rotating. That's like super min-maxy. And I don't know if anybody would be doing that, but that actually might, maybe that's worth it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll need to do some testing on this one. But honestly, you can't really go wrong with either one. I would probably go improved judge, just as like, if I had to guess which one, I'd just improve judgment. Tempest of the Lightbringer has remained unchanged. It's still just projectiles shooting forward, the same Tempest we know and love. Teachings of the Light, versatility increased by 2% and judgment cooldown reduced by half a second. This one felt kind of weird and out of place. It was like just random versatility and judgment cooldown. It kind of feels like something to give you straight through that didn't have to do with Divine Storm, because both of these have to do with Divine Storm. And it kind of falls in line with like this stuff in the middle is like kind of like, I mean, this is a defensive. This could be taken as a defensive, you know, more versatility. Divine, and then protection of Aegis of Protection is a defensive type stuff. So maybe if you just want to go straight down, this one feels a little weird to me. Inquisitor's Ear. Every 3 seconds, gain 5% increased damage to your next Divine Storm, stacking up to 10 times. This one was also a little interesting to me. I think if you take this with something like Empyrean Legacy, it'll be good, because then when that Divine Storm hits, it's gaining 50% more damage. And I did confirm that this does work. It does work with Empyrean Legacy, maybe, but I think there's other places you'd be able to get damage from versus just waiting every 30 seconds to get a buff. Blade of Vengeance. Blade of Justice now hits nearby enemies for 22,000 physical damage, deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. So now our Blade of Justice does AoE, and it's awesome. This is great. Or you can take Imperial Legacy, which is what it's always been. Judgment makes your next Templar's Verdict automatically activate Divine Storm with 25% increased effectiveness. Templar's Verdict, I'm not sure if it works with Justicar's Vengeance. I'll have to test that. I see it more as a single target. I know it's Divine Storm, but I see it more as a single target boost than anything. So if you want AoE or you want improved single target, pick what you want. All right. Crusading Strikes. Praise be the light and Sarah, because Crusading Strikes, I didn't know I needed it until I had it. Crusader Strike replaces your auto attack, which means you're Crusader striking every time you auto attack, and it generates holy power. So now your auto attacks are generating holy power. So you are just a holy power generating machine with Crusading Strikes. But then you start taking stuff like, oh, well, now I have improved Blade of Justice, and now I have improved Judgment. So now I have 2 charges of these abilities. So like, do I really need Crusader Strike now? The answer is no, because you take Crusading Strikes and it's awesome. One thing to note, it does not stack with Seal of Crusader right now. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's intentional, because it's technically Crusader striking and not auto attacking. I'm not sure. I submitted it. We'll see what Blizzard comes up with. But if that is the case, then we do lose. It makes it not worth it to get Zealot's Paragon. So hopefully something over here, hopefully Seal of Order and Fading Light will make us like kind of want to come this way, and maybe then we just take Touch of Light or something. But Crusading Strikes, such a fun spell. I'm so happy it's there. It's great. We now have access to Blessed Hammer, which is it's the same as the Prot one. Throw a hammer, spirals, does damage to the enemies, and they do less damage to you. Crusading Strikes, always. If it's tuned, I don't think it's tuned very well either. So if the tuning changes, it could potentially do something. But for right now, Crusading Strikes is just so good. Also, Blessed Hammer is, look, as a Ret Paladin, we have a lot of stuff flying out of us. So having more hammers flying out of us probably isn't a good thing, because this is already really dangerous. So Crusading Strikes are just so good. Just take Crusade. All right, Heart of the Crusader. Crusader Strike and auto attack deal 10% increased damage and a 10% increased critical strike chance. So now your Crusader Strike and auto attacks deal 10% more damage, and they're 10% more likely to crit. Pretty solid. I don't know if, even with Crusader Strikes, I don't know if it's worth it, because we still have a lot of talents down here to take, so I don't know if it's super worth it, but it's there. It's not bad. We'll see what final tuning looks like and all that stuff. But Blessed Champion, Crusader Strike hits an additional 2 targets for 85% damage. Yeah, more AoE. We're turning into like cleave monsters. If it's like 3-4 target cleave, man, Pallies are going to be, we'll just take this for Avenging Might or Crusade. One thing to note, Avenging Wrath Might is still bad. It's not bad, but it's just not the right choice. Yeah, you get 20% crit and your wings are for 20 seconds, or you can get your own Lust buff and Crusade lasts for 35 seconds. So it's Crusade. It's Crusade. It's always Crusade. We are going on a Crusade, okay? We're going to go on a Crusade, and you're going to take Crusade because we're Crusaders. All right. Commanding Judgment. Judgment hits an additional 2 targets for 85% damage, or 4 targets for 85% damage. Again, cleave monsters. Cleave boys. It's going to be great. Sanctify has been nerfed. Now does 25% more damage from Consecration, but also Divine Hammers, which we'll talk about here in a sec. Again, Consecration, not important spell at all anymore, so you'll probably never take this. However, you can still get Consecrated Blade, and Consecrated Blade has been reworked. Blade of Justice has a 40% chance to cast Consecration on the target's location. This is bugged right now. I have not seen this proc at all. I sat on a dummy and just spammed Blade of Justice, and it hasn't proc, so they need. But yeah, if you liked Consecrated Blade, I kind of like this version. It's not tied to Art of War anymore, so 40% chance of casting Consecration, and you're casting a lot more Blade of Justices, so could potentially be good. But Divine Hammer replaces Consecration. Oh, also Consecrated Blade replaces Consecration. Divine Hammer replaces Consecration. Divine Hammers spin around you, damaging enemies within 8 yards for 6,250 holy damage over 9 seconds. It is a moving Consecration. It does 1625. Consecration does 1623. Over 12 seconds. This is over 9 seconds. It's a 20-second cooldown. This is a 20-second cooldown. This is their answer to moving Consecration, and I love it. It's so smart. People were asking for Divine Hammer. I don't remember this ability ever, but I know a lot of people have been asking for it, and now they get it, and it replaces Consecration. Sarah's killing it, y'all. It's so good. Not worth it in my opinion, but hey, it's there. And I like it. It's a playstyle choice. Adjudication. Critical strike chance increased by 2%. Hammer of Wrath has a 5% increased critical strike chance and deals 10% increased critical strike damage. So your overall crit goes up 2%. Hammer of Wrath has an additional 5% crit strike chance. So if you're at 20% crit, Hammer of Wrath itself has 25% chance. And when it crits, it does 10% increased critical strike damage. Not bad. I mean, it'll be great for execute. Aegis of Protection. Divine Protection reduces damage you take by additional 10%, and Shield of Vengeance protects you from 30% more damage. So now Divine Protection is 30% reduced damage for 8 seconds, and Shield of Vengeance absorbs 130k worth of damage. Awesome. Between Sanctified Plates, Faith's Armor, now getting Shield of Vengeance and Divine Protection, it's great, man. This is such a good rework. I love it. Swift Retribution. Haste increased by 2%. Blade of Justice and Hammer of Wrath cooldown reduced by 1 second. We were already reduced by 2 seconds. Now it's going to be reduced by another second for Blade of Justice, but Hammer of Wrath as well. And you get 2% haste. Swift Retribution, pretty solid. This section right here, we've talked about a little bit about physical things, but one of the big things that I love that they did with this update or with this rework is they gave you a chance to deal more physical damage as well as deal more magic damage. So depending on what your comp is, you can have a physical build or you can have a magic build. Paladin has always been like half and half, like, oh yeah, some of our abilities do physical damage, some of our abilities do holy damage. Now we can like say, hey, we're doing mostly physical damage or mostly magic damage. So let's just take Adjudication. So Vanguard's Momentum. Hammer of Wrath has 1 extra charge, deals 10% increased damage, and on enemies below 20% generate 1 additional holy power. So it makes Hammer of Wrath even stronger past Adjudication, and there's 2 charges of it. So you can have Hammer of Wrath do 2 extra charges. So, and if you're taking Zealot's Paragon, now you're spamming Hammer of Wrath, extending your Crusade. It's pretty good. Blades of Light, Crusader Strike, Judgment, and Hammer of Wrath now deal Holy Strike damage. Remember, Holy Strike damage is holy damage and physical damage together. The same way that you have Frostfire damage or Shadow Flame damage, we have Holy Strike damage now. And then down here, physical presence, all physical damage you deal is increased by 20%. So now let's say you're running with a warrior or a monk. Monks have the physical debuff, warriors have battle shout. So now you're like, okay, well, let me go more physical, play with my comp. Or you could be running with a demon hunter and do the magic build, which we'll talk about here in a sec. I love that they're giving us the choice to do a little more physical damage or a little more holy damage. It's great. Final Reckoning and Executioner Sentence on a choice node is something that I've always thought it should be on. They both functioned pretty much the same. Executioner Sentence has been around longer, but then they came out with Final Reckoning and it just became the de facto choice. But now with some of the changes, I think it's still leaning Final Reckoning, but Executioner Sentence might be able to make a run here. So one thing is they took away the passive for Final Reckoning. So now it's just the ability. Slam the area for 41k, and they all take 50% increased damage from your Holy Power abilities. There's no more, once you use it, there's a proc, which it wasn't really doing that much damage anyways. But Final Reckoning is still very strong. Executioner Sentence has come down to a 30-second cooldown. And it's still the same. Hammer falling from the sky, 8 seconds. They take 10% increased damage, as well as 35k on top of it. But it does not cost Holy Power anymore, and it's 30 seconds. So it's a little weird because now we don't have Seraphim or any other buffs to like maximize the damage of Execution Sentence. Even when you call it, you're kind of it's just like pop it in your rotation and you do like a little extra damage, for 8 seconds. But, on wings, it's going to be big. That's why I think Final Reckoning still might just be a better one, just because Final Reckoning lining up with Divine Toll. Yes, it's every 30 seconds for Executioner Sentence. We'll have to see. We'll have to do some testing and see. 50% increased damage from your Holy Power abilities is huge, though. And I love that they gave Executioner's Will to both of them. So Final Verdict and Justicar's Vengeance extend the duration of Final Reckoning and Executioner Sentence on targets by 1 second. This duration cannot exceed an additional 8 seconds. So we can basically get 16-second Final Reckoning or a 16-second Executioner Sentence, depending on how how fast you're building Holy Power and how fast you're spending it. Now, the only thing is it is single target. So Final Verdict or Justicar's Vengeance, it doesn't count for Divine Storm. The last one is Divine Auxiliary. Final Reckoning and Executioner Sentence grant 3 Holy Power. You just don't really need this. It's just unnecessary. There's other things that we have a lot of other choices, and I don't think Divine Auxiliary is going to be it's not going to be high value, because you could build up to 3 Holy Power pretty quickly. Slam, Final Reckoning, or Executioner Sentence. It'll make it a little bit faster, but I don't think it's going to make it that much faster. You're talking about one GCD, which like I'm already kind of used to like building up and then doing this, so I don't think this has a lot of value. High Lord's Judgment. Judgment causes target to take increased damage from your next 2 Holy Power abilities. So our Greater Judgment, now it's 2 Holy Power abilities. And if we go rank 2, it'll be 3 Holy Power. This is where maybe, 2 charges of Judgment in like a multi-target, like I judge one and then I judge the other. Like if it's 2 target cleave, you judge one, judge the other, and now your next 3 Divine Storms are going to do 20% more damage. Super min-maxy, but it's there. I like it. I like that they extended the Judgment buff and the next 3 Holy Power abilities. I like this spell. Wake of Ashes. Lash out at your enemies, dealing 63k radiant damage to all enemies within 14 yards in front of you, reducing their movement speed by 50% and burn. Okay, so this is all because it takes these. Wake of Ashes is the same, but it also reduces movement speed. Burning over time is just because it thinks I have Truth Wake because the way it works. But Wake of Ashes is still the Wake of Ashes we love. Seething Flames, though, has a really cool animation. Wake of Ashes now causes you to lash out 3 times. So you do like 3 big like hits with Wake of Ashes. You only do 1 at 63k, and then the rest of them are like 7. It's whatever this 7-2-7-6. So the second and third lashing out of Wake only does like 7k a hit, which is still pretty good. So I like Seething Flames. It's at the very least, it's a really cool animation. Truth's Wake, Wake of Ashes also causes target to burn for an additional 48k radiant damage over 10 seconds. So kind of the Truth's Wake of old, same thing. Okay, now here we have a choice node between Holy Crusader and Burning Crusade. So Holy Crusader, Blade of Justice and Expurgation now deal Holy Strike, which is physical and holy damage again. Or you could take Burning Crusade, Blade of Justice and Expurgation now deal radiant damage, which is fire and holy damage. So when we talked about physical versus the magic version, this is what I'm talking about. So Blade of Justice can hit for physical and holy, but also of Expurgation, which I guess would be like a bleed, I guess. I don't know. Would be physical and holy damage. Or it could do Radiant, which is fire and holy damage. This is when we talk about the fire build, is what a lot of people are saying is this what we're talking about? Are you doing physical or are you doing fire? Because no matter what you're doing holy damage, it's just now do you want to do more physical, more holy? So, oh, you're running with a Demon Hunter, Burning Crusade. The nice thing though is fire and holy damage does proc things like the Diurna Ring, the Aranog Ring, anything that you have like, oh yeah, dealing fire damage procs this thing. Radiant damage will do that. So Burning Crusade is great. Penitence, increase the damage of your periodic effects by 15%, which is your dot, your expurgation. And Searing Light, fire damage dealt increased by 10%. So if you go the physical damage, you'll want all physical damage you deal increased by 20%. If you go the fire damage, you'll want fire damage dealt increased by 10%. So overall, I really am enjoying the rework. I think there's a lot of choice. I think they really said what they were going to do. They said they were going to step up survivability. They said they were going to step up utility. They said, you know, movement was going to be an option. We now have at least 2 other movement speed options. And I think it's great. I love the physical versus fire builds that you can have. I think Blizzard is doing a great job with the rework. I'm really excited to see where it goes into the next stage and its final stage and seeing what they do with Of Dusk and Dawn. But so far, thumbs up for me. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. If you'd like to connect, you can connect with me on Twitter. You can connect with me on Twitch. I stream on twitch.tv/rollyrods. I also have a Discord that I'll leave in the description down below. Thank you so much, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.